Good morning. It's Mindy. We made it to day 12 of the 12 days of Christmas. I didn't get it done quite over the weekend like I'd hoped, but here we are. We have made it. It is December 23rd, 2 days till the big day. And I'm going to show you the recipe that I make for every Christmas Day breakfast. It's a sweet thing. And I do some other stuff alongside it, but this is kind of our tradition. So that's why I wanted to save this for the last day. This will give you enough time to go get your ingredients if you want today. If this is something you're interested in, you can make it tonight or tomorrow and put it in the fridge, and then you just bake it Christmas morning. So it's super easy, super flexible. It's monkey bread. You've probably had some variation of it before, and there are a couple different ways to make it. I'm going to show you the way that I make it for our family and see what you think. So I'm gonna have to push up my sleeves here. I start with a bundt pan. This is a bundt pan, if you're not sure, if you've never used one of those before. I chopped up half of the bread, and then I'm gonna work with the other one while I'm giving you the recipe here. The reason I use the bundt pan is that, as you can see, that there's the center core, and that core will heat up in the center just as much as the rest of the pan, and it bakes it evenly. A lot of times people have trouble with monkey bread because they put it in a 9x13 and the edges burn, excuse me, and the center stays kind of underbaked. So I have found the best way to do this is using a bundt pan. It solves all of that. Okay, so I'm going to try to put this recipe into the comments, but it will be later today because I don't know if you can see my counters. I have a million things. I've got to finish Christmas cookies and a bunch of things today. So I'm going to try to find a few minutes, but again, just bear with me on that if you would. So we have a recipe of 2 loaves of white bread, and I brought props today. I use the Rose. You're just going to need 2 loaves. I could only find, or actually my husband went and bought this yesterday, but this is a 5-loaf pack, so I'll just stick that in the freezer for another time. If you cannot find the bread loaves, which sometimes happens to me, you can get the dinner rolls if you can find those, and I think there's usually 36 of those in a bag, and I end up using about half a bag. 18 to 20. So if that's what you can find, then that works too. So you're going to need either 2 loaves of the bread or about 18 to 20 of the dinner rolls. You will need 1 3-ounce, I think it's 3.4 ounce actually, package of vanilla Cook and Serve. As you might be able to see, this is the bigger box. I sometimes have trouble finding the smaller boxes of the Cook and Serve vanilla pudding. So I will get, I don't know, maybe it's you know what, there's 2, I don't know what the ounce sizes are. I know that this is the bigger box, and like I said, I usually have trouble finding the smaller boxes. So I always get the bigger box, and then I just divide it in half, and then I save the other half of the dry pudding mix. Sorry, I've got morning voice. 1 stick of butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, 1/2 cup of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. So those are the ingredients that you need for your monkey bread. I don't know if I'm going to make it through this video. Like I said, I went ahead and I chopped up half of one of the bread loaves, and I thought I would do this other one while on camera. What I like to do is set the bread loaves out about an hour before from the freezer, and they'll be frozen solid. But after about an hour, you're going to get to the point where it's still a little bit frozen and cold, but like I waited a little bit too long on this one. It's still cold, but not frozen solid, and it's easier to cut. So it'll be lightly frozen, but not completely frozen. And so I cut these into roughly 1-inch cubes. And then you can pull that apart. And like I said, I already did one of these loaves, so I'm working on the second one. And it's harder to do. I usually stand up at the counter to do this. I don't know why. I thought the table would be easier for this, but it's not. I should have stuck with the counter, except I was afraid of chopping my head off again. I think I'm just gonna, I think I'll ask Santa for a tripod this year for my camera. I never think to get one until I sit down to make a video. I'm like, oh yeah, I should have a tripod for this. All right, so I'm just pulling these apart, and then in the meantime, I like to do this part first. Normally I get this completely chopped up, and then I take the other ingredients I mentioned. So all the ingredients except for the bread dough that I mentioned. You are going to melt together on the stove and get it to a low boil. And it just takes a few minutes. And then I went ahead, I did that with this pan. That's what this pan is here. And I'm just going to finish this, and then I'm going to pour over the mixture. And I think it's fine. All right, so this is my bundt pan. And I greased it, of course. You want to grease that well so things don't stick. Put in that bread. And then, like I said, I'm going to go ahead. I heated this on the stove earlier. I'm going to pour the entire thing over. And I'll show you what this looks like. Now, one of the reasons I like to make this ahead of time. Here you go. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so that's really hot, and I'm just gonna let that soak over the bread dough. I'm gonna put this in the fridge after we're done with this video. As I started to say, the reason I like to do this ahead of time, other than that it's just so easy to pull it out Christmas morning and put it in the oven, the heat from this is gonna cause this bread dough to rise a little bit. So tomorrow, well, this will actually be 2 mornings from now. 2 mornings from now, when I go to pull this from the fridge, this will be all puffy because the bread will have risen. Some of this mixture will have soaked into the bread. It's really good, actually. And then it just, it bakes, and it kind of has this caramelized texture. I always invert it. Once it's baked and from the oven, I just put the plate on, tip it over, and then let it sit for a couple minutes to make sure everything has released from the pan. And then it just has this really pretty brown caramelized look, and it just looks like a really pretty bundt cake. So that is what we do. And I could go ahead to the oven right now and bake this, and it would be fine. It'll still rise and puff and everything, but I always make it ahead of time. It's one less thing I have to think about, and it can sit in the fridge for a day or 2. I probably wouldn't go more than 2 days. As a matter of fact, normally I would just make this tomorrow, so like 24 hours ahead of time. But I know from experience, I've made this as much as 2 days ahead of time, and it's been fine. So, like I said, I wanted to get that done and into the fridge and the recipe out in case anybody wants to try it. So the last thing that I do once it's baked, inverted on the plate, I let it sit for a few minutes, and then I mix up a cream cheese icing because apparently not enough sugar for us in this. So my cream cheese icing recipe is 1 stick of butter, 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese softened, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 4 cups of powdered sugar, and then milk, probably 4 tablespoons. Again, you kind of just have to play with it a little bit. I like it to a consistency that's slightly pourable, like not glaze-like, but thinner than what I would ice a cake with, if that makes sense. Now, I won't necessarily use all of that icing on one monkey bread bundt because it's a lot of icing. I mean, you could. I'm not stopping you. But if you have any icing left over, you can just use it for cake, and you can, at that point, you probably want to add more powdered sugar just to make it a little bit thicker. I tend to just put it in the freezer and save it for another round of monkey bread. Things flying off the table here. I'm trying to think what else. I'm trying to think why we don't have this left over more often. I usually got something going on that I end up using the cream cheese icing for. But again, it can freeze. So hopefully that will help you. I'm trying to make sure. Oh, I didn't tell you how long to bake it. It is 375 for 18 to 20 minutes, depending on your oven. So I will start to check this after about 17 or 18 in my oven. You will know, excuse me, I don't know if my voice is going to make it through this. You will know it's done when the edges are slightly golden crispy, and when you can kind of pull away from that center bunt core. If you can like pull one of the little pieces away and see that it's more bread-like rather than dough-like. So it's just, you kind of have to watch it a little bit. But again, baking it in the bundt pan is a much more even way to bake than like a 9x13 or something like that. Though you can do that as well, you'll just have to watch it a little more closely. So anyway, I hope this is something that is helpful. I'm gonna go back and watch this. I'll probably realize something I forgot to say or do. But this will be my last recipe of the year, unless I jump on here with something crazy next week, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think I'm going to take a break. So I will plan to see everybody back in January. I'd like to continue doing this. It was something fun, something fun for me. I hope it was fun for you too, but something I just kind of started in 2020 just because it was such a weird year and thought, why not? So we'll see what 2021 brings. I appreciate all of you that have watched and stayed with me through all the technology, whatevers, with my head cut off and all the things. So it's been fun. I hope to learn more. I hope I do better. Kind of honing YouTube skills, which makes me sound ridiculous. So I don't even know how to end that, but I would like to learn more. So we'll see how it goes. And then if there's, more fun recipes that I have, I'm happy to share, because baking can be one of those things that for some people is stressful. It's like cooking is for me. I really don't like to cook. I do okay, but I don't love it. And to me, I find cooking stressful. And so, but baking is very relaxing and just something fun. I enjoy it. So hopefully I can share that with you if you are interested in that sort of thing, and we will just see where that takes us. So on that note of bad YouTube skills and technology, I'm just going to slide this camera over to, instead of jumping up and trying to figure out how to turn that off. So you're probably gonna not see a great ending. It'd be like all green shirt, but what other way would I go out, right? So anyway, thank you again. I'm going to end this because I just keep droning on and on. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, a happy new year, and here's to 2021, and we'll see what it brings. Have a good day. Bye.